integrate it with. And less development time and no on-site testing required. So here are some examples. So you have this $1 million idea. You have a website, right? And you want to integrate SMS to your website and make it more interactive, right? Or else you're good at creating graphics or MMS or birthday cards. Now, how can you convert this into a MMS where you can very easily, on demand, send a greeting card to a friend or create an app that sends a greeting card, right? Or else, going forward, you want to have a quiz. You want to conduct a quiz based on a certain, basically a menu-driven quiz-based application, right? There's a menu that you can start when you write in your mobile application that will have 1, 2, 3, 4 certain items in the menu, right? Whether you can write an application like that. So what is the roadmap? Let's say you want to start today developing a mobile application. What are the steps that you ideally would go through? First, you would create your business concept. So basically, when I say business concept, I'm talking about your application idea. What would your application be? What segment of the population would use this? Do you plan on making money, and if so, how? Right? And then you have to obviously think about the development part of the application. And then obviously there is a phase where you will interact with the operator in order to get the operator's approval of this application to be deployed on their network. And then you will, once you're done, once you receive the approval from the operator, you will implement the application, and the application goes live for the entire operator subscriber base to be used. So these are very simple roadmap from the idea generation until your application goes live. So now you're just simply thinking, right? That's all there is right now. So what does it take? Do I need to learn a different language in order for me to create a mobile application? Not really. There are enough and more application developers out there who are well versed with, Java, C#, C++, PHP, and so many other very widely used development languages, which can be used, very easily used, to develop your next mobile application. So it does not require you to know or learn a different language. Okay, now that you've understood what you want to do, what would you do next? So you would go to this particular development environment that I'm talking about, right? Many of the application developers knows the concept of an IDE, which is the integrated development environment, where once you have that development environment, you have pretty much everything you need. So I'm talking about an environment like that, right? So this particular environment I'm talking about is a hybrid of many things. It's a web-based API where it's very easily accessible to anybody, right? And you would go, and there are sample programs, there are forums that you can basically look at how certain applications are written. You would download some of those sample programs. You would play with it. There are user guides that you can basically look at on those web portals, which I, in this case, term as the IDE or a part of the IDE. You can even use the developer forum, a sort of a chat group that's out there. People with the same level of thinking. You can post questions. How did you do this? How did you send this particular, how did you write this particular piece where you actually now take that greeting card and send it over as MMS? And thereafter, using the programming language that you know. Because the content of what you're going to write is very simple programming. The part that many application developers are not exposed to is the implementation and the integration to the telco backend. And that is what most of these application development environments plan on providing. Ease of use, where you can very easily develop a mobile application. Once you develop the application, you can test it online. There are simulators that you can actually download or test, which will give you the same results, the live result, or the same results compared to when you basically implement it or roll it on the live system, on the operator. So here's a sample web portal, a developer portal, like I was talking about. I mean, there are getting started documents, sample applications, demos, simulators, very simple. Like it says on here, think, develop, and publish. As easy as that. Right? So this is the hybrid IDE, or the integrated development environment I'm talking about, where now a simple software programmer, application developer, can come on board to a very easy to use development environment and develop their mobile application. I think Chan also touched on this. Simple ideas equals to success in this case, especially when you're talking about emerging markets like Sri Lanka. Very simple SMS-based, MMS-based apps may bring you $1 million sometimes, very surprisingly. And here's the range we are talking about: breaking news. And when you consider Sri Lanka, the agricultural sector, there's so much potential. Very simple mobile applications. So I leave you with this question: who wants to be the next millionaire? I think Chan also left certain figures. So the question is, who wants to be the next millionaire? And thank you very much. You all have any questions?
Okay, we have a question.
I was just wondering about the future of the apps. Actually, they might not do what they are really now in about 5 years later. So maybe they could be like cross-functional. So I'd like to know what you have in ways regarding the future of the apps.
The future of the apps, meaning on the with Etisalat, or the
In general, yeah.
you want me to answer? Or you?
Okay, what I feel, this is I think my personal opinion, but what has happened in the last maybe 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years, is the fact that the platform of the mobile has superseded the device. So now no longer will you, identify your phone as being probably a Nokia or a Motorola or maybe even an Apple for that matter. Now it's identified by whether you use Android 2.1 or 2.2. And then, your device limitation is now the software limitation. So in that context, I think application development has this life cycle of the app development will last maybe for about another 2 to 3 years in the same context, where you will have a lot more local apps and a lot more native apps coming in, because I think right now the app industry as such is governed by generic apps. I think the next stage would be where you go deep into detail in terms of exactly identifying who the customer is and giving him exactly what it needs. And I think one application which actually does is the maps, where it maps where you go and which coffee shop you frequent, and it keeps a tab of your life. And that again is one of the applications I think that the US government is having an issue with. But I think it's going to go down that road. I think it's going to come down to a lot more unique native usability. Probably, this will stay with the industry for about maybe another 3-4 years. Does that help you? Okay.
Okay. Okay, sure. Just a quick one.
Yes. No, it's so far it's only from Etisalat. No, you can't.
Okay.